don't care what Steiny and Guru are saying. Bonte and Willard and Dibs and Shasky. I don't care if they think we're done. You go out here and show Fox who the real animal is.
You all right?
Why would you ask?
Now, back to Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, Goo.
Yeah.
Let's go, Goo.
But what do I get for calling
God.
Mitch Richmond
Rich Mitchman.
So I'm asking the great Rich Mitchman.
Rich Mitchin. You called him Rich Mitchin.
Right.
Rich Mitchin. That's
Yeah.
better. That's actually better than Rich Mitchman.
James, I thought you had heard it.
No,
you
yeah.
thought it were.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, boy.
Was it Rich Mitchin? Is that what we ended up with?
Mitchman. So I'm asking the great Rich Mitchman.
Yeah, Rich Mitchin.
Rich Minchin. Yeah.
He is
Not to be
great.
mistaken with James Michener,
No.
Steiny, the
Oh,
great
my
author.
goodness.
I bet
Or
he gets
Les Nessman.
Or Ness
WKRT.
Westman.
WKRT.
Yeah.
That was my
Oh,
show.
man.
Hashtag world.
It's-
Venus
yeah.
flytrap.
Oh, man.
What do you do, Goo? What
Lonnie
do you do?
Anderson.
Just
Bless
keep
her.
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, Goo, I hope you know, when you say, what was this worth it? Because now you'll probably need at least 3 days off.
No, that's what
Okay.
I'll be good by 7.
Okay, I want you to know what it looks like out in the main office of Odyssey San Francisco.
Oh, my God.
When you do that, because our listeners don't know the building setup and the fact that
Couldn't hear me, could you?
Oh God, yes.
Yes.
Oh
And
God,
Mark
yes.
and I are having a mature conversation
normally
about
no.
Kaminga and an off-season extension.
Now
and
I'm
what
embarrassed.
tonight
Don't
might
be
mean.
embarrassed.
I did not.
No, they enjoyed it.
Oh, the crowd
But
went
everybody,
wild.
the salespeople stop what they're doing because they're about to ruin.
Thank you.
And they turn and they look and they listen. And yes, it was a version of something I experienced many years ago when I had my first niece, who is now, gosh, I think she's 24 years old.
Man.
My sister's first daughter.
Okay.
They'd had their first kid, and you lose your life. You can't go do anything anymore. But I'm down visiting them, and they're like, we're going to a movie tonight. I'm like, well, what's happening with the baby? And they're like, this theater has something called the baby cry room. And I'm like, what is
Never
that?
heard of it.
So it's a room in the back of the theater that is enclosed, so you can go in there and watch the movie with everyone else, but you got a baby. And the baby, her name's Amber, she lost it halfway through the movie and was screaming the whole time. We watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Wow.
And she was crying for 67% of this movie. But you sit there with
Not a lot of dialogue you're going to miss.
Not a
but-
lot. We were fine, but you kick your feet up like, well, it's a good thing we're in the baby cry room. So, no guilt.
Yeah,
It's all good.
yeah.
That's why they have this room. Well, we had friends that were in the main theater. And so as we're leaving, everyone's doing the how'd you like the movie thing. And we looked at them and we're like, God, it was crazy, man. Amber was crying the whole time. And our friends that were in the main theater look at us and go, oh, we know. And we're like, oh, what? You mean that's not soundproof?
Wow.
So that was the experience that we just had in the hallways of Odyssey San Francisco. Yes, Goo, we can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
stop.
And it was a beautiful
that?
thing. It was a beautiful thing. Good for you, man.
I don't know why I'm overly confident. Is it just me? I
think
just think they can handle tonight.
Well, they had better handle tonight. Or, not or else,
Yeah, or
because
what?
I think the or else is going to happen no matter how this all ends, unless they go on a run. But the difference between tonight and a Friday loss, tonight's loss, I don't think there's much difference as far as, yes. And Grandy on our thread was talking about the word embarrassment. I think it would be more embarrassing if you lost tonight.
No
but
doubt.
if you lose tonight or Friday, it's going to be equally embarrassing, I think, for an organization that prides itself on being a championship team.
Gosh. Well, we'll talk about that. I don't find it embarrassing at all, but I'd rather ask you a question, Goo. First of all, because I'm loving listening to you talk right now.
Mark Rivers.
But second of all,
I'm all right.
why would you be confident?
Because I think the Kings are without a lot.
True.
And when I say Malik Monk being their heart and soul, a guy that could get you 30 on a good night, we've seen it against the Warriors when they came back. No hurter. They're hurting right now.
Yeah.
And they also got the dark cloud of blowing leads. And I think playing at home
Not like the
against
Warriors.
this team,
That's what I mean.
where their season ended last year, I think that doesn't do well for them.
So, like, I get everything that you're saying in terms of a matchup thing, but we've arrived at a spot where it's one basketball game.
I hear you, man.
And I'm just like, I'm not trying to pour
No,
a
I
bunch
get
of
it.
orange juice on everyone's Cheerios right now, but for God's sakes, have you watched this team this year? I don't know what the hell we're going to get tonight.
Better on the road than at home.
They're better on the road.
Right,
They've
right.
been better lately. They're the healthier team. They're favored. I get it. I would think that they would win. I would think.
Right.
But like the idea of being overly confident, I just feel like I've learned my lesson too many times
Right.
with this basketball team this year that when I expect them to do one thing, they often do the opposite. So I count my confidence at 0.
Right.
For
right.
tonight.
My confidence is much higher, but I was listening to you guys on the drive in, and Steiny was mentioning how the big three have played 85% of the games, and I know that there was some debate as to that number and what that number meant.
He was correct. Yeah.
Well, he was correct in terms of how many games they played individually relative to the team total. But I went and I did the additional homework of how many games have they played together, the big three, of the 82? And the answer is 47. The three of them have played basketball the same night only 47 times. And in those games, they're 27-20. So if you look at their record without having all three on the court, they're 19-16, which is a long way to say with the big three in there or with only 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3, they're not much worse. They're not much better. They are who they are.
I think it matters which of the big three you're missing, though, don't you? I think like this team is if you're going to miss one of them, they are most different when Steph Curry doesn't play. I think they are second most different when Draymond doesn't play.
Right.
And third most different when Klay doesn't play because they have people who can replicate Klay's position.
Right. Nobody can replicate Steph.
Nobody.
And, you know,
And no one can really replicate Draymond.
That's what I was going to
I'll produce the numbers when each of them were out, but I would bet you that their record without one of those guys is about the same as when that guy plays. And that's been the case with Draymond for the majority of the year.
Well, if they played 47 together,
All three of them.
and they were 27-20,
Correct.
can't we figure out what they were when they were missing one of them?
Yeah, that's what he said.
So 47.
19-16 when one or more were out.
But I'm wondering what it is if you broke down
Gotcha.
which one that they're missing.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if, and we don't have to get into the long-term thing, but yeah, if you re-sign Klay Thompson, that's something you've got to take into consideration. And that's why I use the number 246. If each of those guys has 82 games, how many of those games are the three of them going to be available for? And if you're telling me that, they're 19-16 when one of them's out, you got to start thinking about that as you move forward with this team if they're only going to play half the season when all three are intact.
Right.
That's
right.
all.
And I thought that your point earlier was astute when it came to
Thanks.
the idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this time it's Steiny.
It's always
Go ahead and
Steiny. That was
have
the
some tea
serious.
and take a play off. But
I'm all right.
just the idea of them going into next year and expecting those three to play more than 84% of the games. And when you think about the Draymond part of it, Draymond only played about 65% of the games because of his lack of self-control. If you're thinking that Steph and Klay are going to be as healthy next year as they were this year, that's a bit of a reach for me.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that, too, I'm going to watch for not only tonight, but Friday, and then if they make the playoffs, is it fair to say, well, Draymond is playing the best of the big three, and is it because he only played 55 games?
Right.
Like, this is going to be the first year, I think, in a while that Steph and Klay. Did Steph get hurt last year? How many games did he play last year? My point is that, they're coming into the postseason. Both haven't played full seasons. And let's see how that goes.
Didn't Steph have a knee last year?
I think he missed a few.
I think he played like 55 last year.
Of the 82?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds low.
Something like that.
That sounds low.
I don't
Hang
know.
on.
Maybe 58, something like that.
The year before he played about that because he missed the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
I think the year before he played 69.
74 games. By the way, check this out. The 74 games that he played this year, the most he's played since 2017.
Look at the minutes.
2016 and 2017 season, he played in 79 games. Well, what do you want to know about the minutes? Per game?
I just think, yeah.
Or total?
No, I think the games and the minutes are the highest since that year you talked
74
about.
games at 32.7 minutes per game. His minutes per game are down, but his total number of games are up.
Man.
Last year, 56 games. The year before that, 64. The year before that, 63. And the year before that, 5.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is by far and away his highest number in 7 years.
And I don't, the one thing I was thinking too is, and I don't know what you do with this information, but if the Warriors season ends this week and, Steph, it actually doesn't even matter if he has 50 or if he has 15, but do you go into next season taking into account that he didn't have his greatest second half of the season this past year, and how do you put that into the equation, or do you that's just the price of doing business, and you know what I mean? Do you rebuild differently? Do you?
Well, the season's not over. He's about to play in the Olympics, which I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you? Again, if the season ends this week,
well,
how do you plan on Steph next year, and what's the plan for Steph next year?
I want to bring up something that you guys said earlier that I thought was really probably interesting on the inside of what the Warriors are thinking right now. But do the thing I'm about first.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
So you threw this out at Goo. The whole thing you guys did about if you grade each individual player, and then why does the sum of those grades probably not equal the grade you'd give the whole team?
The suspension.
I thought very, very interesting, because you're right. Part of that is time and space. Part of that is some of the players who we would have graded poorly at the beginning of the year are currently getting a better grade. You gave Clay a B+.
Yeah.
If I had asked you that in December, you'd have given him a different grade.
D+.
Right. Andrew Wiggins, you gave a C+. If I had asked you in January,
F.
right. So those grades now come up, but what they did early in the year sticks with their record. So that's one thing. But here's what I thought is really interesting about this. So the idea is that the Warriors are lesser than the sum of their parts. The front office is probably not looking at those individual grades. They're looking at the overall grade. So that's the rub. When people think, gosh, are they really going to let Clay walk? Or would they consider trading Andrew Wiggins or Jonathan Kuminga? Or how's this all going to look? I don't think the front office looks at it that way. The front office looks, because what does the team get? What's the team grade this year?
It's a C.
Okay. That's the only grade the front office wants to know. They don't care what you think about this guy and this guy and this guy. They're looking at it as a puzzle, and it didn't fit, period. And I think that's already decided. And for me, maybe I'm just doing this to calm my own anxiety. It takes a lot of the pressure off of tonight.
Well, Dibs and I agree. They know what they want to do.
I do not think that all of the people who are doing tonight
it's on the line.
Nothing's on the line.
I believe that.
Other than our enjoyment for however long this will go. That's all that's on the line. The whole, their individual careers are not on the line tonight. Their legacies are not on the line. Whether or not the Warriors will move them or not is not on the line tonight.
I believe that.
What is on the line?
Whether the season continues or not.
And if you get a championship.
What's on the line is...
Okay, that's not on the line tonight.
No, what's on... Yeah,
whether they get a championship.
What's on the line is whether or not they get to...
Well, you lose.
No, I do.
This year's team.
No, but I do think if they lose tonight, as opposed to win 2 play-ins and take Oklahoma City to 6 games, there might be a difference in their approach to the offseason.
And there might not.
You think?
But what would the might not be, Steiny? You got to be firm in your beliefs.
Well, you don't have to be firm in your belief right now.
No, but why
do you have to be firm in your belief right now?
Why would Joe Lacob take a first-round loss?
That's different. That's
Why would he
different.
take? But no, that was the example you gave me. Why would he take Oklahoma City 6 games, first round loss, and be like, all right, that's cool?
Because he thinks that Draymond Green makes a difference and they're a 50-win team. Like, this is the part I don't have a side to pick on in this side. If they lose tonight, they're not a playoff team. That's just the bottom line. But does it take away from 27-12, the second half of the season? Like, there's something about, we stub our toe tonight in sack, and then that kind of would disappear entirely, or wouldn't. I don't know.
I think they're obsessed with Steph Curry, as we all are. I think they're completely and totally obsessed with him, and there's just not a lot of time left. So the idea that anything, whether it's tonight, whether it's Friday, or whether it's 3 weeks from now, or even if it were into the second round, the idea that they would take that and go, all right, we're right there, I think is very, very unlikely. I think that I think their mind has been made up with regard to the idea of this needs to look different next year.
See, I think it's unlikely they win 2 rounds.
Sure.
Or let's just say it's unlikely they match last year. They win a round and get to 6 games.
It's unlikely they play past Friday.
But I would say this, even though it's unlikely, if they do, I do think it changes things. I do. Because at that point,
if you get deep into the second round,
right,
now you pause and start having another conversation.
Because you have to at that point, because then you're 27-12,
right,
and you got to the Western Conference semis
but
again.
Even if it goes well, I think you're doing yourself a disservice to think that means now we come back and we're another year older and we would pick up right where we left off. You've already got Steph Curry. Like, we've all been talking about this. He looks exhausted for a month now. So can that guy still be a 1 into June, if he can't even really be of full strength in April? I mean, they've got to get a younger star. They have to. They have to get a younger, productive star.
And how?
But assuming they can. I do allow for, even though I think it's going to happen, I think it's unlikely because I think older guys tend to break down. But is it possible that next year the decline of the big 3 is offset by the improvement of the younger players to the extent that the team then is better next year, even though the core gets a little older?
It's possible, and they may be forced to do this, by the way. I bet they've got some deals they'd like to make, but it doesn't mean they're going to get to make them.
I heard you guys with Ramon.
Trying
to come up with some names.
I think there's some things they'd like to do, but some other teams are going to want to do those things too, and so I don't know if they'll come through with it, but I think that for them, that's clearly option A. They're obsessed with the remainder of Steph Curry's career, and they would like for him to have a better shot at something real in the playoffs, and they would like to, if you listen to Steve Kerr the last few weeks, they'd like to take some things off of Steph's shoulders. And you're not doing that.
Where does Clay fit into all that?
Depends on the price.
I think he fits, but depends on what motivates him.
And I also think it depends on what motivates Joe Lacob to spend his way into the tax again and maybe get in the second apron. If you lose tonight, I can't see Joe Lacob thinking, you know what? I spent $400 million this year. Let me spend another $400 million for the 10 seed. But if you do get through the play-in and you do knock off OKC, and then maybe you give Minnesota a scare and you lose in 6 again, he can at least think, all right, maybe I'll try this one more time. I'll dig deep in the coffers one more time and spend $400 million again to try to just, squeeze one last drop out of this lemon.
I definitely don't think he would spend this again on this group. Would he spend this again if there was somebody available that really excited you, who hasn't had his 30th birthday yet, who you think, okay, this is a real reboot? That, I think, is more likely than the idea of spending this money again on this group. This group is the seeding is going down each year.
Right. And this group is not coming back anyway because you've got Chris Paul for 30. You're not paying Chris 30.
No, but you might be. I don't know what Chris wants. Might be able to pay him something. Right?
Sure.
Might be able to decline the option, and I don't know what Chris wants. I don't know what Chris can get on the open market.
Probably the mid-level.
Yeah. Okay, so what is that? 7? 6,
Something like that. 7 to 8.
Yeah.
Somewhere
Like, I don't have any insight, but I'm not sure why he would want to come back here. Chris Paul. I mean, to me, if you're Chris Paul and you want to play more,
Does he at age 40?
well, then maybe he says, I want a shot at a title.
Maybe the Warriors do something that makes him think he can.
Maybe.
Maybe he can do it here.
That's a long way away,
Yeah.
I think.
No, I mean, there's a lot of answers that still need to show themselves. I just think that's tonight. Like it would be, and you remember Dibs. Fitz said this to us last week. It would be nuts. I know we do this as fans. It'd be nuts to think that Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob are going to grab a beer and a seat tonight and be like, all right, let's find out what we think about this team based on the next 48 minutes. I agree. Harrison Barnes could score 39 points and you could lose. You're not
true.
You're not building your offseason based on tonight.
But I do think there's some things to look at tonight.
Of course.
Like, to me, Kuminga, it's an important game for Kuminga.
Agreed.
And I don't even need him to get 20. I need him to play like there's a lot at stake, even if he goes 3 for 9.
Do you guys think that Kuminga could do something tonight to make the Warriors decide that they don't think he's a part of their future?
I think he could complete something tonight that makes them think that.
And I think they already seen that when he was out with the tendinitis, when the team had some success, short sample size, but I believe that's in play, and I hope I'm wrong.
I think that they would be beyond hesitant to move on from Jonathan.
I do too.
And I get that.
I mean, I do too.
Well, it depends on if they could get somebody. You're talking about a star who's under 30 in the off-season market. You can get somebody to come in and help Steph right now. And I think that where Jonathan Kuminga is, the best version of Jonathan Kuminga is how many years away? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3, maybe 4?
Yeah, history
What's
says
that number?
It's still at least a couple years away.
He's 21.
He's 21
so
years old.
maybe if it's 4 years away, then as a Warrior team trying to do what you said, you're trying to do right by Steph, you're trying to give him one last bite at the apple, maybe that's a hard move you have to make.
Well, except for he doesn't have to be the 2. He doesn't have to be the 2. He can be the 3.
But you can't bring in another 2 without trading Kuminga. Personally.
I don't think I get where you're coming from.
And you owe him some coin.
And I agreed with you for a long time, and now I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think option A in the offseason is they are going to see if they can try to acquire someone without giving up Jonathan Kuminga, somebody who matters.
One word answer before we get out of here. Warriors win tonight. I'm being proactive. They play who Friday?
Oh, New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans.
Wow.
And
Lakers take care of it.
And it's a problem.
And it's 2 words.
It's a problem.
New Orleans is 2 words. So is Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So
no matter who you play on Friday, if you get to Friday, lots of luck. Wow. Because I think those are both bad matchups. New Orleans beat you without Ingram.
That happened.
Yeah.
But you had a lead.
You
early.
sure did.
Right.
And then you did a second quarter fade.
46.
And that was that, yeah.
Lakers Warriors Friday.
Oh, God.
Take it to the bank.
Wow.
On 95.7, the game. Lakers Warriors Friday.
Barf.
You should have left it with the station. You had it. It was a clean out.
You all right?
Why would you ask? Oh, stop.
Listen to you.
The voice will be back.